This is Bilbo Baggins, and he's a nice little hobbit. He lives in the Shire. He has a nice house, comfortable life. He has good food and very nice friends to share it with. But one day, he goes off on this amazing adventure and does a lot of things that he wasn't really trained for. He encounters these dangers and new challenges. And he learns new skills because of it. And when he comes back, he writes a book called There and Back Again. There and Back Again, according to J.R.R. Tolkien, which you can see in the image, means one who went on an adventure from home, only to return home, speak of their learned wisdom, and share their knowledge, and what they learned from their journey. I'm Gil, and this is my journey from ops to dev and back again. I would first like to thank the good people here at Devops Moscow for inviting me. Moscow is one of my favorite places in the world, and I'm glad to be here. As you can see, this is my Twitter handle, and that is what the QR code is for as well. I believe in sharing the knowledge and wisdom, and the best way to do that is to have a conversation. And our current medium of choice is Twitter, because that's just how it is. So just scan that barcode, and anything that I say that you disagree with, especially if you disagree with me, I want to know about it. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm open to any and all criticism. So, who am I? I recently joined the team at AppsFlyer, which is ad tech. I got my bachelor's at Technion, which is Israel Institute of Technology. I worked for Get, which is transport on demand, which living in Moscow you should probably know. Sparta Systems, which is pharmaceuticals. Arkelis, which is fintech. Oracle Data Cloud, which is ad tech as well. And Cloudify, which is a cloud orchestration framework. So I got around a bit. And a while ago, I saw this post on Hacker News. Who here knows what Hacker News is? Raise your hands, come on. We're not going to stay sleepy this talk. This talk is all about interactivity. So I see some of you don't know what Hacker News is. Hacker News is an online forum run by the people at Y Combinator. Y Combinator is the most prominent startup accelerator in Silicon Valley. And many trends that you see at Y Combinator and on Hacker News, you will most likely see in the rest of the industry during the following years. And I did both. I was a software. I was a sysadmin and I did software development, and I did both. So let's see what people have to say. And of course, this turns into one big flame war. It's as if the whole DevOps revolution never happened. It was a lot of mudslinging and, throwing of other things. But should software developers have sysadmin experience? Let's get a show of hands. First of all, who here is a developer who dabbles in operations work? Come on, raise your hands. Are you a developer who does operations work and infrastructure? Raise your hands. Come on, be proud of this. Awesome. So we have a few of those. And who of you are DevOps engineers who build tools? So we have a few of these as well. Look, there is a distinction. You see, there is a difference. And there really is a difference. But we'll get to that one later. So like all stories, we focus on transitions, on things that have changed in our lives. And these are my previous 3 positions before AppsFlyer. And I'd like to focus on this transition first. From a DevOps engineer at Get to a developer at Cloudify. And at Get, I built them their first automatic blue-green deployment system. It had zero downtime. It had amazing business value. We went to deploying things much faster. All these things that you've heard about in the past, around 2014-ish. And I was down and proud of this thing. I mean, it's not my best engineering work of all time, of course. But it was good. It got a lot of value. It had application lifecycle management. It had Name My Bakery, which for those of you who don't know, this is how we did immutable infrastructure before we had Docker. It had some monitoring work. And I built the whole thing with the AWS Ruby SDK, mostly because Get is or at the time was a Ruby shop. And most of this stuff is orchestration. So I figured, I made this, I probably already know orchestration, right? So Cloudify was and still is what's called a pure play orchestrator. And orchestration is the main thing over there. So when I got an opportunity to join them, I said, hell yeah, come on. I'm like, ooh, can do. Yeah, the one Rick and Morty fan. And I did have a lot of skills coming in. I knew how to do Jenkins. I knew Git. I knew Linux. I knew how to do continuous delivery. And I knew a lot about the AWS Ruby SDK, which turned out to be kind of useless because they were a Python shop. But most of all, and this is why they hired me, I had the Devops mindset. And this is one of the things that Cloudify does, is that they hire people who already were DevOps engineers to build tools for DevOps engineers. This is the ultimate dogfooding. Do you know who Charity Mazurs is? Charity Mazurs started a company called Honeycomb, and she ran production engineering at Facebook for a while. And one of the things she constantly talks about is systems thinking. This idea of perceiving the system as a whole and not only your individual parts. And this is one of the things that sysadmins do way better than anybody else. And this is why Cloudify hires these people. So, should software developers have sysadmin experience? At least one company says yes. And more as well, as we'll see later. But one of the things that this does give you, mostly, is independence. You come in being able to do more things because you don't need the infrastructure team to help you with every little thing because you already did that. So you can see at least one place where this really, really pays off, even for you, never mind the company. But there are a few things that don't work out. Does anybody here know who MacGyver is? Or am I the only old person in the room? All right, a few people. So anybody who grew up in the 80s, that's how old I am, remembers this guy, Richard Dean Anderson. Now this guy was the ultimate field engineer. He could build a rocket ship out of chewing gum. He could fix your car with a paperclip. And unfortunately, he does all these things on his own. When you work as a developer as part of an operations team, you usually build stuff for yourself. You usually build things that will be used at most by a few people. And this means that you don't really go through the rigorous process of software development that you do go through when you have a team. When you become a developer as part of a team, you have to learn how to work as a team, which was a new thing for me at the time. We suddenly have code reviews, which can be occasionally very, very annoying. You have all these JIRA items you suddenly have to take care of. And you kind of have to learn how to do that. But here's the most important thing. When you're part of the software development team, you're usually making a product. What I had at Get, that was a script. It was a complicated script. It was a very elaborate script. It might have been a well-written script, but it was still a script. It was tailor-made for our infrastructure and our product. And this hackety version of a TV remote control pales in comparison to a real remote control. You see, this is a product, an actual product. It's much more robust. It's much more accurate. And this is what you actually want in a product. You want something sleek. You want it way more precise, way more robust. So in many ways, when I went to Cloudify, I became a junior again. And I was lacking a lot of skills that software developers already had. I didn't know Python. I didn't know how to do design patterns properly, meaning I built stuff that worked, but that's not what good code is. I didn't know how to write clean code. And these are skills that I would have never picked up had I not gone on a dev-centric position. But I had great mentors, amazing people who did not settle and demanded high quality. And after I spent a lot of time there, I became better at my craft. Also, I went through the looking glass. I know how these things are made, what cloud infrastructure looks like on the other side, not just as a consumer, but as a builder. And I would like to focus on my next move. After leaving Cloudify, I joined Oracle Data Cloud, or rather a startup that Oracle Data Cloud had acquired as their first DevOps engineer. You know, I'm back to being that Swiss Army knife of computing again, doing all sorts of things. And it's cool, we can kludge again, because it's only for us. We can hack stuff together, you know, by combining Stack Overflow and duct tape. Only now, I know Kung Fu, or rather Python, which allows me to do more things. I can dive into code much better. Also, I speak dev now, so I can communicate way better with other people. And now I'm even more independent. So I think I've also convinced you, or at least I hope so. You know, let's get a show of hands. Have I convinced you that sysadmins should also get developer experience? Give me yes. Give me raised hand for yes. A little bit. Okay. I definitely gained more skills. Also, I learned how other people work, which is something that you don't really get if you don't become part of the team. And also, I can build way better tools now because I have more skills. And if you don't intend to do so, those are the good things. Here are the hard things, the difficult things. Transitioning roles is hard. It means that in many ways, you go back to being a junior. You will get talked down to by somebody 10 years younger than you, and they do know better. So you need to check your ego at the door and understand that this is a learning experience for you. You will take a pay cut. A junior developer generates less value than a senior DevOps engineer. That's just how the market is. You will lose progress in your current path. For example, I missed out on the entire container revolution when I went to work for Cloudify. But that's okay. I made it up later. I can Docker just as well as the next guy. And here's one common misconception. The same way that this Google Cardboard will always pale in comparison to this Oculus Rift, if you make this move, you will not become a senior developer. Changing roles for small periods of time does not change who you are. We have been training for this since childhood. This is why we're good at what we do. We started at Legos, and we moved on to DOS shells. And all these things have shaped the way that we think. And that's how we get good. This is why we seek experience. Has anybody here seen the movie Slumdog Millionaire? I'll just move over here for a sec to see the Russian version as well. Awesome. So, do you remember, what's the main takeaway of this movie? This guy gets on a game show, and he knows the answers to many questions that many people don't. And he knows them because of his rich life experience. He went through many things, many trials and tribulations. And that's how he wins in the end, because he had a rich life experience. And the same thing goes for our world. Because I worked in IT, I know what hardware looks like, which is apparently rare these days. Because I worked in support, I know how to talk to clients. And all these experiences contribute to who I am as a professional. And this is backed by current HR trends as well. How many of you have looked for a job recently and saw mostly ads for full stack developers? A little bit, yeah. But here's the thing. Full stack developers are still not quite there. But it's a definite industry trend. And people are moving around because of it. They understand that in order to become good at mobile, you need to do a mobile-centric job. In order to do front-end well, you need to do a front-end centric job. So what they do is that they move around and do these 2-year stints, one as a front-end developer, then as a back-end, then as a mobile, maybe a little bit of infrastructure, and then they become full-stack developers. And this is actually becoming a problem for some players in the industry. Because you see, all these people moving jobs, sorry, this is for some reason, yeah. All these people moving jobs, this is insanely expensive. The cost of hiring a new engineer is between 1.5 to 3 times their monthly salary. These are real numbers from Gartner. One company that wants to tackle this is this company, Jolt. Now this guy, Roy Deutsch, he gave a great interview called The Rise of the Jack of All Trades Engineer. And the way they deal with this problem is they change the frame to see it as an opportunity. They create what's called chapterships. The idea that you move around in a pre-agreed upon sense with your employer. You do a 2-year stint on one thing and another 2-year stint on another thing. And because it's agreed upon, everybody benefits because you learn to plan for it. Does everybody know what the difference between an eagle and a duck is? An eagle can fly high, fly faster than a duck. And this combination of air and land, the eagle simply just blows the duck out of the sky. But you know the one thing that the eagle can't do? Well, the eagle can't swim. This idea of multidisciplinary as part of the job market is a new thing, sort of. And many people who spend a lot of time in a certain discipline, whether for example, if you were a .NET developer in the early 2000s, and you put your whole career into that, you suddenly find out that some of this knowledge is worthless today. But the guys who moved around, who tried a few different things, they're not drowning, they're doing really, really well. And here's another thing. You see, according to most actuaries today, our generation, I'm 35 years old, by the way, and I'm guessing some of you in the audience are as well. And the younger ones, this number will go even higher. Because of raised life expectancy, Most of us will be working well into our 70s, which means I got about 43 years of career left. I'm not even halfway there. So you could consider this a burden or see it as an opportunity to grow. This means, this number, that means that we have a lot of time to try different things, to try different roles. And that's a good thing. So in summary, working different roles improves different skills. You will not become a good developer by writing scripts for your operations team. You will become a good developer by working in a development position. You will not become a good marketing engineer by giving an occasional talk. You will become a good sales engineer by working as part of a sales engineering team. This, of course, has a price, but it's worth it, according to me anyway. That's just my opinion. And it's backed by current trends in HR. Trying on different roles does not change who you are. It's okay to change, it's okay to try, and it's okay to come back to your comfort zone later. Totally fine. Our generation will work way into our 70s, which means we have a lot of time to try new things. And here's the most important point of all. Being multidisciplinary is kind of a bonus thing now. You can totally survive without it. But in the future, this will become mandatory. Certain skills that we consider now to be the pinnacle of what we provide are becoming prevalent. They're becoming commodities. Which means that you need to be able to do all these things. And you won't get there by staying in your comfort zone. Thank you very much. So this is my email, Twitter handle, QR code for Twitter as well. Please do feel free to contact me and troll me on Twitter. I love trolling on Twitter. That's about it. Any questions? Go ahead. Oh, wait.
How long since not working? How long did you work at the developer position in Cloud?
Almost 2 years.
2 years.
Almost 2 years, yes.
So, and you became a middle-level developer, something like.
I would think, yeah. I don't think that I will never be as good as those guys who've been developing their whole lives. But I did gain this level of proficiency that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise.
And why did you prefer to go back to Devops when you can grow up in development?
Because I think it is my natural identity is more in DevOps.
So because you're always who you are.
Exactly. You always kind of. There's a song that says, "I'm always the person who I am." So it's a good thing to go out of your comfort zone, but never forget your real engineering identity.
And how long did you work at Devops position at first place? So you tired from this work?
It's not so much tired from it. I had an opportunity. So you need to grasp opportunities when they come to you, or you just go with the market.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Do we have anything on slide up? Let's see. Right. What about moving from product manager and come back to DevOps? That's actually a great question. I can give two angles for this. One is that doing product stuff is something that we kind of already do in our internal development, right? Because what do DevOps engineers do? mostly figure out a need that we have, and then we design something, an internal product, to fill that need. And that's the one place where we already do that. But we don't get real product skills by doing that, right? So if you go and do a product manager position in something that is related to the DevOps field. So for example, all the product managers at Cloudify, they were all former infrastructure engineers. Some of the product people that I know at companies like Rovello, currently Oracle, and Stratascale, they were all infrastructure engineers before that. So I think that's a definite yes. Why not? Go for it. Anything else? Thank you. Oh, go ahead. Yes?
Hi. Do you think this is not a problem to be an expert in one thing, but to be a junior in many things?
This is the classic specialization versus jack of all trades question. I think that the way most of the market is going is that we're all mostly becoming jack of all trades. And the reason for that is many things are becoming very, very easy. So for example, if you wanted to work in the cloud 10 years ago, you need to know a lot more stuff. Right now, if you want to know a little bit about how to do stuff on AWS, there are like 5-hour webinars which will totally get you started. And most of us don't really need to be ultra experts in our field. I mean, most of us kind of hack stuff together from Stack Overflow with duct tape anyway. You know, you just import something and pip install, and you're ready to go. And these are most of the jobs out there. We're all connecting different pipes. We're connecting something from S3 to an EC2 instance that goes on SQS. And maybe if we're multi-cloud, we're some way hooking this up to BigQuery or whatever. And this is what most of the jobs look like. Most DevOps engineers are becoming jack of all trades rather than experts. And this is becoming, and it's kind of funny because we're actually getting to a point where it's not about the knowledge that you have, but rather your ability to learn. Meaning, it's totally okay to hire somebody who has never done AWS because of his experience in Google Cloud. Because he already knows the cloud concept. So he'll probably figure it out if we let him, read the AWS documentation. So if market knows best, market knows best about pretty much everything. The market will always get the right people. The market will always figure out what is the stuff that we really need to do. And this is what the market wants.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Some more questions. All right. Oh, sorry. Yes. How do you help your developers to get better on what they deliver? I'm not sure I completely understand the question. What do you mean to get better on what they deliver? Do you mean like how to get them to build better products in that sense? Have them use it. You only get better at the things that you actually do. One of the main problems in the past in our industry was that people would build stuff that they would never use. I hope that answers that question. Should get rid of position web developer and move to a level-based system. Wow, that's a big one. So I'm not sure I consider this levels. We can all rate our skills on different scales. So for example, I could say that I'm like really good at doing stuff on AWS. And like if I would say like the evangelists, the guys who do, or the solution architect are like at a 10, then I'm like at a 7. But in my Python skills, if I'm saying like the guys who've been doing Python like for like a lot of time, they're like a 10, then I'm like 6 or 5. And we all have different skills that grow on different in different areas. But the problem of doing this is that web developer is not a position in the sense that you develop stuff for the web. It's just a certain need that we have now. Our company makes something on the web, so we need a developer to build it. And that's the position. So a level-based system wouldn't necessarily get the same accuracy in terms of the job description, getting the right people there, and giving them the right authority to do the right things. Next one. E-shape is the new T-shape. Oh, right, you mean like the tree. I think this refers to the whole tech tree thing, the idea that you have different options to go to. So yes, this is exactly it. We have this ability to grow in many, many different places, and this is exactly what I think that our industry is going to. Let's see. What do you think is the most prospective field to work in the next 5 years? Right, so if we look at the hype train is definitely towards AI, big data. Crypto is actually falling off the hype train because of recent crashes. But I think one of the interesting things, for example, about crypto is that you can see that it's growing. It followed the whole, it recently fell off the hype, and now it's growing in the sense that the market that can actually accommodate it. So I can tell you that I try to gain some, to take an interest both in AI and in big data. Taking an interest, not actually moving to those positions. I think anything that is on the hype train, you should at least know about it a little bit. But you should still follow the stuff that actually interests you. We do our best in jobs that we're actually interested in. If you're coming in the morning and just looking at the clock, waiting for it to hit 6 o'clock, that's not going to cut it. Do you practice changing places between departments? So that tries to do work marketing, multimodal test issues, so on. I think that's a good idea if your company allows it. Many companies do allow it, by the way. They allow you to move between different parts of the company. I know people who got started doing completely different things and just moved inside the company. One member of the DevOps team I was in at Get, he started out as doing manual QA. Totally cool, totally fine, and it's actually very big of the company to allow him to do that. So kudos to them. So you should move. So if you can do it in the same company, hell yeah. They're actually letting you do this. They're helping you develop as an engineer. You should jump on this with 2 legs. Do you miss your infrastructure engineering job? I mean, before DevOps, just bare administration? No. I personally think that working in IT, at the time at least, it was a very good experience. You should learn how to do that, but a little bit of time. I think every engineer at some point should visit a data center, at least once. But I don't think that it's necessary anymore these days, because the amount of abstraction that we have along our stack means that we don't really need to do that. The guys running the data centers in Google and AWS know way better than me what to do. I should not interfere with them doing their jobs. And I think that's it for here. Anybody else? Thank you very much.